Violet Sorengale, Zayden Ryerson, Imogen Cardulo, Quinn Hollis, Rhiannon Matthias, Sawyer Henrik, Riddick Gamlin, Sloan Mari, Auric Greycastle, Catriona Cordella, Marin Zinna, Evelyn, Baylor, Lynx, Dane Atos, Mira Sorengale, Brennan Sorengale, Bodie Duran, Garrick Tavis, Jack Barlow, General Melgren, Colonel Atos, Commandant Panchek, Kai, Traeger, Bragan, Professor Karari, Professor Ematerio, Professor Carr, Professor Markham, Professor De Vera, Professor Keandra, Professor Trissa, Emery, Heaton, Jessinia, Serena, Captain Fitzgibbons, Nolan, Winifred, Captain Grady, Captain Anna Winshear, Captain Henson, Lieutenant Foley, Lieutenant Pooh, Aura Benhaven, King Tari, Prince Halden Tari, Queen Maria, Viscount Tekaris, Llewellyn, Jarrett, Drake Cordella, Felix, Ewan Faber, Queen Marlis, Ferris, Roslyn, Talia, King Cortland, Theophany, Berwin, Broccoli, Maisie, Calixta.
Well, that beautiful bean footage.
And that isn't even all the dragons.
Nope, none of the dragons. Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Rachel.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is
Feast.
Sheath.
And Shatter.
Is it hot in here or is it just me tuning in to hear these three chatting about fantasy novels of the spicy variety? Not your average book club, if you know what I mean. Are you happy to see us? Or is that a dagger? It's Feast, Sheath, Shatter. It's Feast, Sheath, Shatter.
And we read
The Onyx Storm, which is the third book in the
Fourth Wing Saga?
Empyrean series.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Would you know, though?
No.
No.
What's the Empyrean?
I have no idea.
What is the Empyrean?
Isn't
is-
that the Dragon
yeah,
Council?
it
okay.
is.
Yep.
I think we mentioned it once
Yep.
in this whole book.
So I'm going to stop you right there, listener. If you're joining us for the first time, we are not a fan cast, and we are the podcast to go to if you struggled with Onyx Storm. I think that if we each had to give you a number, 1 out of 10, where are you at, Rachel?
1.
And you?
Is 0 an option?
2.5.
So I'm probably at a 5. There were parts of this book that I enjoy. There are parts of this fandom that I enjoy. The thing that I didn't like about this book the most was reading it.
Which is an interesting thing to say about a book.
Yeah, it is.
That was the worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I thought that Fourth Wing was a great book.
I enjoyed Fourth
I
Wing.
love
It
Fourth
was novel, and she has this great voice. You know, she's a contemporary romance writer. And I think Fourth Wing, the level and the stakes were right at her, like, top level of what she has experience doing.
Yeah. I would say that.
And Hannah, how was your
I did the reread.
Yeah, how was your Iron Flame?
Because, I can't remember anything. So I I re-listened to Fourth Wing, and I loved it so much again. And then I listened to Iron Flame for what was my second time. And I was shocked at how much I liked it.
Right. your
Because
second
when
time.
we read Iron Flame last year, was it last year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
last
in
year.
it
Like
was
a
in
year
like
ago.
No,
Actually,
November.
it
It
might
was
have-
when Iron Flame came out. I think we did them both.
it was 2023.
Wow.
Was it?
It's been
Yeah.
over
Well,
a
I know in the
year.
podcast
was
you're like, I
November.
would wait till January 2025 to read the next book.
It was November
Well,
2023.
I kind of wish we'd
Okay.
have waited. But
And
anyways,
yeah, it was absolutely. The first one came out in April of 2023, and then
Yeah.
Iron Flame was November.
Yeah.
and we were not, too pleased with Iron Flame. We had some problems with it. I was super disappointed because I was so excited. I was, on living off the high from
Fourth
Fourth
Wing.
Wing. And just a lot of disappointment. But the reread, I was like, oh,
Well,
I like
and
this.
we-
This is cool.
We covered both books and the same day.
Yeah.
So we read Fourth Wing together, which was a reread for us, I think.
Uh-huh.
And then Rachel was joining us, and we read Iron Flame. So we kind of were reading. We didn't get to experience Fourth Wing like without also having read Iron Flame for the podcast.
Oh,
And I think that kind of influenced the way we felt about Iron Flame. But I went back and I listened to the pod we did on Iron Flame, and a lot of the. I just need to be real for a second. I have never talked to Rachel so much in my life as. Like, it was to the point where Rachel would call me because it was going to be too much to text. And I want you to know that that's not normal.
That's not normal at all.
And it was just, I think we were both, and for
struggled.
different reasons.
I needed my hand held through Onyx Storm.
I
And I read all of Sarah J. Maas.
yeah.
Yeah.
I needed
like,
my
you don't-
hand held through this.
Yeah, for Rachel to say that, because she can pretty much power through
Well,
anything.
And I think it put a little rift. I'm going to talk about Caitlin because she's another good friend of mine that I talk to like on a daily basis. This is her series, and she loved it, and she had a great time, But I do want to say, and this is nothing, I just want to give some background into her experience and my own. We all came off of reading Oathbringer,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Wind and Truth. I had finished Wind and Truth.
Yeah.
She had read 15 Dramini fanfics. We read what you love. We're not
Right.
going to
Yeah.
yuck your
No,
yum.
definitely
but
not.
I think this is one of those books where people's experience and the way they interact with the writing is vastly different.
Yeah.
And I have never seen a fandom so aggressively offended by other people's opinions as some of the takes that people have on this book.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
people
get it.
people are getting mean in comment sections.
Well, I think it's because Fourth Wing, the one of the things about Fourth Wing that everybody kept trying to sell me on Fourth Wing was, well, Violet's really smart.
yeah,
It's a really smart book. Violet's really smart. And then we get to the third book and it's not like that anymore. And so I think the people that define themselves in the first book is like, I like a high fantasy where the character is smart. Yay. Like this, if I
and-
want to self-insert myself in this book, I get to be the smart character. That's great. And so when you say you didn't like her in this book, it's like, oh, you're literally attacking her, like Violet, like her smartness, her whatever.
And I do think there's this thing that women particularly do where when we love something, we identify with it a little bit. When we have our hobbies, like a lot of people do, it's like talking about somebody's sports team or Taylor Swift. Yeah, or Beyonce or, and we just get a little bit of an attachment to it and we just don't have the room for the
Criticism,
conversation. Right. And I think that first I do want to say I would call it a high fantasy because it doesn't take place on Earth, but I will not call it an epic fantasy. And I do think that, hear me out,
Okay. I'm listening.
I'm going to try and change your mind here.
Okay.
Because when you look up the definition of a high fantasy, really all it is there's some sort of magics and it's not Earth. But what I think it doesn't do, and I think why it's so hard to call it a high fantasy is because the characters are contemporary young adults. It's a romance. They don't act any different than somebody in our society would act.
Right.
And so because she's just taking these young adults and putting them in these high stake kind of situations in this fantasy world, because there's no continuity, it does not feel like high fantasy.
Yeah, I'm going to...
It feels like a mistake. It feels like wrong.
My only caveat there is I think fantasy, no add-ons, fantasy is when something takes place in a world that's not our world.
Sure.
And when you tell me high fantasy, I'm expecting a totally other world that is completely constructed for me.
Sure.
I want magic with rules.
Right.
I want
Rules.
I want I want distinct countries that have distinct governments,
Cultures.
that have distinct governments, that have distinct rulers, that have an organization that is coherent and consistent and that I can pick up without you having to info dump it on me. I want
religion.
a religion. I want a world. And if you're going to give me a bunch of people in that world, which is another hallmark of high fantasy, I want them all to be different characters and not cardboard cutouts with different names. And so I think she's going for high fantasy in that she's given us sort of on the surface, it feels like that. But once you go any deeper than surface level on any of those things in her world, they're not there. Every country is a kingdom. They all have a king or a queen. The military is only the dragons. Where were the infantry ever in this whole book?
What's infantry? I'm sorry.
We
Well,
used
I
that
don't know.
another word.
Prince Halden was infantry in this book. Basket riding Prince Halden.
But
And his dumbass.
the magic had no rules. There was no magical
And
technology.
If you try and bring that up to somebody, because Kaylin is a great, like, you can throw stuff. I mean, it definitely makes sense. It's like she's like, oh, I understand the magic completely, and you'll be like, yeah, but what about this moment and this? Like, okay, great insertion of an actual moment that makes no fucking sense to me. When they're in the kitty cat island
Yeah.
with King Tuscaloosa. What's his name? Takara?
I just read all the
Dracarys.
characters and I couldn't
Isn't that
tell you.
Cortland?
Cortland. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. The island with no magic.
Zayden's mom.
No,
Not yet. That's
no.
the next. Remember, there's 3 islands, 4. I don't even fucking remember.
There's
it's
4
the one where
islands.
the one where
The
they eat the guard.
Panthers.
The one where
The
they
one
eat
with the
guard.
cats.
Yeah.
And they cut her head off and
Yes.
she opens it up. And then later on, Violet has PTSD from the head.
Don't be a head.
From the little red head.
Yeah.
There's no magic there. She has no magic, even though she can still talk to her dragons, which I'm assuming is her bond with Andarna. But she's got her, what do they call it? The siphon.
Yeah,
Her,
her Fabrial.
We
no.
couldn't remember the name last time either.
Either,
but
no.
it's the conduit.
The conduit.
Yes.
That she imbues with her power.
I like
right.
Gabrielle
So we
better.
have the source. I do too. So we have a source, the source in the earth, this rampant amount of power.
Right.
And unless it is pulled by a griffin or a dragon with their magic organs
Their
that somehow
filtration system.
filter and then give it to a person, it turns you into a bad guy. That's
Correct.
it. That's the rule.
Yeah.
So when Violet takes her magic, her dragon filtered magic, and puts it into the conduit, and then Xaden later has to pull from that makes him a bad guy too?
And in Iron Flame, she's charging the conduits for them to use. To give to other people to use, because she channels raw energy. She channels raw magic, which we completely forgot about in this book.
Or just didn't in this book. It's 5 books, Rachel.
Okay, sorry.
It's 5 books. It's a mystery.
And like her magic.
It's not bad
Yeah.
world building. It's part of the allure and the mystery.
Is it?
Why do you need all the answers today in a 5-book series?
I just want
I
a few.
Because
literally
it's the third
saw a
fucking book in a 5-book series
Series.
that was intended to be a trilogy. You cannot give me a rule and then take the rule away. You
Yeah.
can not give me the rule until the 3rd book or 4th book or 5th book. Okay. but you can't give me a rule and then suddenly the rule doesn't matter anymore. And her magical disappearing magic teachers, in the first book, she had a magic teacher who was trying to kill her. And then in the second book, she had a magic teacher that was like, you don't have to do big. You can do small. Learn how to channel small. You're not channeling lightning.
Kerr is the teacher, I think.
Yeah, you're not channeling lightning. You're channeling raw energy. And then in this book, she literally just spends an hour a day doing lightning bolts. Off page.
Right. Off page. A lot of stuff happens off page.
And that's it. We don't go back to doing small. We don't go back to She was charging the alloy to defeat the venom. Now she's not charging shit anymore. We just forgot all about that altogether.
But when Xaden pulls from this magical conduit
Right, it
that
shouldn't
his
matter.
girlfriend's dragon
Yes.
filtered and put in this with its runes, like the rune magic honestly,
fucking forget
the
it.
rune magic seems like the most powerful thing that could possibly exist because it is a language that is allowing magic to structure and build itself. Like our first little Violet's really smart thing to happen is when Mira shows up with a rune, a special rock that has a rune on it. And
it can levitate shit.
and then all of a sudden they need Sawyer to heal enough to use his metallurgy to go to the ward so they can add this one rune to the ward. So then it will just allow Griffins to use their magic there. Did you catch that?
And it literally felt like they ran down there and poked it with a stick.
I read that. I read that like 3 times.
I was like,
To
what
try
happened?
and to get and here's my thing. I am, it is infuriating when you have been a reader your whole life and this book comes along and you have to read something 4 or 5 times to even understand what the fuck she's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
To understand the action.
Yeah.
Why
And
was
that's
it so
not-
hard to
That's
understand?
not reading comprehension.
I
No,
felt
because
no.
it's
I feel like
poorly
I
written.
I need help. Like I need to go to the doctor. I need some medicine.
You were gaslit. And
I
these
feel like I
people-
was gaslit.
Yes, I understood it. That's what a lot of people. I had no problems understanding
didn't
everything.
understand
Did you,
it.
babes?
I just think that there are people that are better at accepting surface level
Yes.
facts.
Yes.
I've been ruined by Rachel,
Yeah,
and I think that you have too, Kate.
I think so too.
And
Your fucking intelligence rubbed
Hopefully
off on us.
it increases your
And it's not about
enjoyment
intelligence.
of good books.
if I can't read trash after this, I'm gonna be so mad at you.
I
do
read
read
trash
trash.
on a daily
Yeah,
basis.
that's
But I
true.
do,
You do read
read
trash.
I do read trash, and I enjoy books that are just surface level.
I
but don't
read so much monster smut. Like I read like 15 monster smut erotica short stories the other day. Like I'm not joking. So it's not that I don't read, but they at least make sense. They're not trying to do something.
No, well, you can't give this to me and tell me this is high fantasy. I think it's the expectation going into it. You give this to me. I read Fourth Wing. I liked it. I read Iron Flame. I thought it was a hot mess, but we had potential. And then I read this one and I was like, what just happened? Who let this go through?
Well,
Like I
it's-
don't want to read anymore.
It starts off. You remember how you were a little frustrated because we were talking one morning and I had finished it and you hadn't started it yet, and I said something like, Xaden and Violet are together in the book because
you
I
said,
just
I don't like Xaden and Violet's relationship or something.
and you
about-
didn't even know that you don't know anything about it at
I
the
haven't
end.
started it.
Yeah, and at the
Because
end,
at the end of Iron Flame, you don't know. You don't know what
Yeah.
Xaden's gonna be. He's got that red rim around his
yeah, you don't know what the story's
pupil or
right.
iris, whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't know. Like he could be locked up when we come back for Onyx Storm. You don't know. Well, guess what? Onyx Storm ends the same way that Iron Flame ends. And we're
Well-
pretty much in the same
Yeah,
position.
nothing
that
changes.
Absolutely nothing has changed.
Well, and
And nothing happens.
if you think about it, now that you've read it,
Except they got through physics class.
We don't know.
they couldn't skip physics.
When she talks about class, like after some serious shit goes down, and like, well, I was a little behind in physics. I'm like, what? Why are y'all still going to class?
There are so many things that I was like petty raging about it. But just to finish that thought, now that you've read it, do you see what I'm saying? Where it was like, they were always, nothing happened. It just
literally
Iron
nothing.
Flame
No.
ended, and then Onyx Storm picked up, and we get a little bit of Violet's POV of what happened right afterwards. And I mean, it just, nothing happened.
No.
And we don't, and some people think that this is just Rebecca's genius way of withholding information. And I do not think, I think people are giving her way more credit.
Way too
I think
much.
she has an idea of where she wants it to go and no idea how to get there. And I think it's a great example of publishing in 2025, where Book Talk has made things immensely popular in a very like capitalistic way.
Yeah.
And I think that the editing I think that she has a good story in there.
Yeah.
And I think that her editors fail her
Yeah.
because of the lack of time.
Right. I cannot believe that an editor touched this book more than once and that some of these sentences got through. There's no way.
And we said that in the last book too.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to read this quote.
Okay.
The stakes are escalating, but we aren't taking the time to build the relationships so the big choices have the emotional resonance that they could have. And that was Kate in the last podcast. And I think it's true again.
I said that?
Yeah.
Wow, I love being quoted.
Oh
my God, the validation. I feel so praised right now.
Oh
it just
my
praise is
God.
flowing
And
through my body.
I just think it happened again. Like, I think we have the same fundamental criticism, which is just all action. No small moments.
And if you love action and romance and like a kind
it
of
wasn't even romantic.
but for some people it feels that way.
Okay.
Even though I think that so in my mind, who Xaden would be as a Venom is if we had gotten my number one. Okay, let me pause for a minute and get this sentence out. My number one complaint with this book is that only having it in Violet's POV until our 3 surprise chapters at the end massively limits its potential.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to spend any more time with emotionless Violet.
No.
And you're emotionless, and Rachel pointed this out. She's just telling us what happens. Everything's through her eyes.
She's just a pair of binoculars.
So if she doesn't see it, we don't get the development. We don't get the I'm just tired of her POV. We need the switch up. We need it to
really
be
needed
like
Imogen
an ensemble cast.
50 chapters earlier.
Give us some chapters earlier with Quinn and Imogen about their friendship.
I don't know who Quinn is.
She's the one that dies at the end.
Yeah, I know. I don't know who she is.
Yeah, she was the one with
that
the
was
cool.
a heartbreaking scene. If I knew who
But
she
how
was,
cheap was that? How cheap was
she
it?
killed her gays. She killed her.
They weren't together. They weren't together.
But Quinn was gay.
Quinn was gay. She's
Yeah.
the only gay character
Well, Riddick's
besides
bi.
Riddick. Besides
Yeah.
Riddick.
Imogen is definitely gay. She just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
2025. She killed her gay.
yeah. Well, so if we had gotten that earlier, mix it in. Like, what editor goes, oh, you're just going to have some random POVs at the end?
Well, she
and
did in
doesn't-
the last book.
And doesn't say
She always switches
only
at the end.
Xaden.
Just Xaden, yeah.
That's different. That's the MMC. These are like random.
MMC. Mailman character.
Sorry.
Yeah, these were like side characters, but they're not. But since they're not characters, you don't give a shit. You could just take their name out and put Violet, and it's just Violet in a different spot.
I do. Yeah. And that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Is that she needed, it's like at the end of it, she was like all of a sudden like, okay, well, I really need to be able to show this thing that's happening over here. I guess what we'll do is just have some random point of views. We'll just switch POVs.
Yeah.
We'll just completely change the structure we've used the entire time.
Can I tell you my number one fury?
No. Yes,
Good.
yes, Hannah,
I don't even want to. I'm
no,
so mad.
Please.
I'm so mad.
I want to know.
What a horribly missed opportunity in Theophany or whatever her name is.
Stephanie.
Fifi.
Stephanie.
Stephanie. I called her Thumbelina the whole time.
As soon as I saw her name, I was like, "Are you serious? Is her name Stephanie?" And my friend was like, "It's Theophany," and I was like, "Okay, so Stephanie."
Stephanie.
Theophany. When she showed up, I was super excited about her. I was like,
so excited.
oh my God, a villain.
Oh, yeah.
A good villain.
An actual villain.
Give us some
Not
morally
like
great
General
Not
Atos.
or Jack Barlow, who just needs to fucking die.
General Atos, who's a grown man that has just like made it his life's mission to make these two young kids miserable.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cock blocks Aiden.
That's weird.
because she can only do good or evil
and everybody's got to be angry.
Theophany could have been
or sassy.
an amazing character.
Correct.
And it went like this.
She is kill. It's
was
a little
the
too
most-
soon for that, honestly. Can you pick another analogy?
No.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Stephanie's
I'm
the
kidding.
worst. I mean, she could have been.
Stephanie's the worst.
Well, we could
The
on Stephanie's
notes.
point of view would have been a great way to get us to know the Venom besides just they're bad guys and they want to eat all the magic. And that's
Right.
You're like, okay, but why though?
And then at the end, we get her actual motivation, which was just to be bad and just to have all the power. Really?
Yeah.
I wanted her to like take Violet under her wing, teach her some cool stuff, show her that
She-
it's okay to be Venom. Venom are cool.
She
Yeah.
looked at
like, let's mix it up a little bit.
yeah. At the beginning, she looked like our answer. She looked like our person who was going to give us the information we needed to get to another deeper part of the book.
I
And she
knew.
ended up being just another bad guy.
I knew when we got the first note from her.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, girl, you are going to come to me. Love, Fifi. I was like, I'm done. No,
Yeah.
this isn't going anywhere.
When they go to
I can
this-
go ahead and tell you, she's
Yeah.
going to ruin this.
When they go to the stupid like movie set in the middle of nowhere and they go to the museum to find the magical disappearing gem that we get and then never see again,
yeah.
which is pretty much just to kill off Grady and Aura. Like, yeah, that's like the only reason they go.
Well, they have to give that magical gem to
But where do they?
King Cortland, yeah. The green citrine or citrus or whatever it is.
Green situation.
Whatever it is.
It's
Yeah,
just-
it just,
yeah.
let me talk about some things that I do like about it,
okay.
All right.
just to balance it out a
Mix it
little
up.
I did write down one thing that I enjoyed.
bit.
I
Okay.
wrote down a lot of stuff. I would not define any of it as stuff that I enjoy.
So
Talking
I
points.
really like the memes that come out of it. I like the way that the fandom. So my favorite thing, and Hannah didn't even pick up on it, is the Dane and the Dane Atos switch up. Like Dane is now my boy.
Yeah.
Like I really like Dane.
I like
Dane's
Dane's
cool.
daddy
Dane,
energy.
Dane talk you through it. Atos.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Sloane, give me all of that, Rebecca. I don't care about Xaden and Violet anymore. First of all, why is Xaden toxic? If I was how I would have seen Xaden, this is how the POV convo came up. If we had gotten in Xaden's head earlier on, we could have seen his decay. We could have seen his mental, his control. He was so controlled. He was such a good liar. He was so controlled. And because we don't get to see him inside his mind, it just could have been done so differently. He didn't have to throw the prince across the
No.
foyer or the what was it, like the fighting pit,
Yeah.
the auditorium or whatever.
Whatever.
yeah,
the mat.
The random
sparring
thing
mat.
that they
Yeah,
built
but he didn't
in
have.
their infinite amount of space to
We
create
could
new
have
fighting
gotten
spaces.
so much more depth and understanding. I
Yeah.
saw someone compare wanting to pull from the source like a drug addiction, which there's a lot of information out there. She could have done that. But if we had seen inside Xaden's mind, the amount of he wouldn't have had to be toxic, right? So he has all these like jealousy and possessiveness that a lot of people really like.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really relate to that. And in our fantasy books, that looks fine. For me, as a 42-year-old lady, I don't want that. He's the
No.
man that is controlled. Like he is wisdom. He should be our leader at the end of the series. And I want his struggle with control and what's happening to him to have been more controlled. And the only way to see it is inside his mind or a different POV, not him losing his fucking cool all the time.
Yeah, I just wanted there to be some turmoil in their relationship besides Violet being like, but I love you, and him being like, but I'll kill you if I touch you, but I really want to fuck you, so I guess I'm going to do that anyway.
Well, and I think that if your main love language is physical touch, which is theirs, and you are somebody that's, that is a major piece of attraction for them to another human being. Like, I get that, but not everybody's like that. And their love did feel very like surface. It felt lusty. It didn't feel like it had the depth. The only moment that felt like it had genuine intimacy was when he bathed her.
I did like that.
That was
scene.
my
That was the
favorite
one
part.
scene where I was like, oh, okay. But to me, it kind of feels like it's 2008 again, and I'm reading Twilight, and I'm like, y'all, this guy's emotionally abusive, and everyone's like, no, that's romantic. You're seeing it wrong. That's what it feels like to me.
Right,
Is
and
once
so-
again, me going, no, this guy, he doesn't let her be alone with any of her friends. Her sister comes to visit, and I was like, oh, good, we're finally going to get some like sister Violet time. Like they're going to get to know. And
That lasted
he
2
comes in and
seconds.
sits in a chair across from them and was like, carry on, pretend I'm not here. And then as soon as Brennan shows up, he picks Violet up and takes her in the bathroom and locks her in the bathroom with him.
And I think the point that you made on one of our many phone calls was this is the best thing that really stuck with me was he never believes her. He
Never.
never gives her, like when she's like, we're going to heal you, we're going to get you better. He's not influenceable by her.
He doesn't believe it for a minute. If you want this to be an analogy for drug addiction or alcoholism, fine. I'm fucking here for it. I'm always here for a good metaphor for addiction. Then he has to want to get better too. And he has to believe that there's a cure. And then you have to provide me at least the illusion of a cure.
But they could have been on the same team. And it always felt like they weren't on the same
No.
They weren't on the same team.
She's like, I'm going to heal you. And he's like, you're not. That's
Yeah.
cute, but you're not.
right.
And then when the one time he does try, he tries with Brennan and not with her. And he literally goes and makes an offering at the temple and then sits by a dragon egg quietly
Yeah.
for a week. And
Yeah,
he's like,
we didn't talk about that enough.
It didn't work.
Right.
What?
That's what
Like
I'm
when
saying.
she got there and realized that Zayden had already been there and like, you know, tried to be mended.
But not with her, not validating her.
I feel like she definitely should have been pissed about that. Bless you. That always makes the sneeze go away for me.
Yeah, it did.
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, he didn't. He doesn't. He the one thing he does instead of making it a connection point, it's a miscommunication again.
Yes, more miscommunication trope.
Which you hate. You hate the miscommunication.
Everyone hates
trope.
it. It's
No, some
2025.
people love it.
Jesus Christ. Who? No.
I mean,
I'm
we're
sorry.
talking
I did it
adults, 18-year-olds. We're 20 years older.
I'm looking at my notes now and it says Onyx Storm should be called Butt Stuff. Or that time Zayden and Violet joined a church youth group.
The task force.
Like the whole first half when they like
the whole-
can't have sex.
Okay, so the best
my
part of
God.
the book is Riddick. And Riddick being
Yes.
funny and broccoli.
Riddick was my favorite.
They literally saved the cat. You know what save the cat means?
Is that like a writing trope?
It's like a writing thing. It's like a writing, like if you need
It's like
a
when-
moment of
when-
empathy, you save the cat.
Huh.
If you can't get someone to connect with a character, they need to save a cat.
Is that why the AI told her to do that?
I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like we
Chat
should point out that
GPT.
it may come up that I have a feeling this book was at least in part AI written, but that is my belief. That is
And it's
my
not
speculation.
Rachel, you're not alone in that.
There
a
is-
lot of people have had that critique.
I just don't want anybody to go, oh, I listened to a podcast where they proved it was AI.
No.
I cannot prove it was AI written, but I do feel like it probably was
That is
from my perspective.
yeah.
Well,
Because there's definitely some moments that really felt like she gave it an outline and it wrote it and she just edited it.
and she put in the sentences. Yeah.
Yeah.
She well, Riddick is funny. He is the only person that stands up for Violet. He's the one that's like, you need to tell me because the only people who know that Zayden is a Venom are his friends, not your friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's some
Who's
friendship.
looking out for you
that's
first?
That's some depth,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then we learn that he's like off page learning to harness his ice powers. And he like does at the end, I think that one of the only reasons we got Rhiannon's POV is so that we could see Sawyer successfully freeze a venom or a wyvern and it fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
right? So like that's cool.
Oh, did that happen? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I listened to it twice and I couldn't pick up on that.
Yeah, that happened.
No, I listened to a synopsis today and I had to re-listen to the end in the synopsis because I was like, hold up, what? I don't
Right.
remember
I
any of
re-listened
that.
to the end of it right before I came over. But yeah, I mean, I really do think that's the only point. That was the reason for her chapter, is so that we could see him successfully do that. And like Riddick was great. I thought I kind of liked the trial piece at first because I do like trials. I like the testing, I liked that we were kind of getting more
Yeah,
cultural
I liked the trials and the
cultural
tests and all that
information
stuff.
about these different islands.
Yeah.
We got a glimpse.
That was fine.
The things that I kept when I would talk to Kaylin, I would be like, I called her and I was so mad. I was like, I do not fucking believe that none of these kids are married. I don't believe it. Military soldiers marry their girlfriends. People get married. When you're gonna die tomorrow, you don't fuck around. You're not out there to like get laid all the time. Most people are like, I need to settle down because that gives me purpose. And that is why so many soldiers marry their girlfriends or their boyfriends.
But they can't get married until they graduate, right?
They can get married as a lieutenant. And
Right.
Zayden is a lieutenant. But that doesn't make sense to me. That especially at their age and this being like a military institute, I just was like, it does not compute to me that they're not getting married when their life is so life or death. So that came true. And then I kept saying the whole time, I'm really sick and tired of being with Violet. I really need there to be some different perspectives.
I think if Violet was a compelling enough character, it would feel all right, but she's not even a character. We get no introspection. She's literally sitting on dragons for 18 hours at a time, and she's just like silence, just mental silence for 18 hours. We don't get like thinking about the venin, like why are they doing what they're doing? Why did we throw away and burn all knowledge about the venin so that we wouldn't know how to fight them when they came back?
How about... Sorry, go ahead.
How come we don't know? How come nothing? She doesn't think about anything.
Or how about their entire society and kingdom squashed a rebellion, killed and murdered, or what is it called when it's legal? They put to death all of these children's family members.
Yeah.
And they ended up being right. And
I
everybody
want some
everybody just transitions to,
yeah.
well, I guess they were right.
And they punished them with magical tattoos that lets them hand out second signets like free fucking cookies.
That's the dragons. That's the dragons.
Oh, right, because
chose
it's dragon incest, because every dragon bonded the kid of their former person.
The dragons are like, we'll be more powerful if we bond those kids versus... Anyways.
But then the signets also hide them from the one guy that can see the future who magically disappeared in this book. Remember the guy who
Melgren?
can see? Yeah.
He's a half precognate. Eric is another cool. Arik is another good.
But where did
character.
Melgren go? He
He's
can see the outcome of a battle. Where did he go?
You hear his name like twice, I think, in the book.
And she forgot about him.
Bloop.
Well, she's got too much going on. She can't.
It's too
much.
There's too many people.
We got to get rid of characters that
will
will make your plot irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the thing is, I mean, like, okay, here's a great question for you. Why would you have Andarna leave and then bring her back 10 chapters later? Why would you have Andarna's leaving absolutely break her in half
And then just bring her back?
And then her come back in this book.
Yeah.
And Darna came back.
Yeah, at the end. Andarna was back.
Yeah. She
And
pops
she
up
was-
and then her other dragon buddy's like, hey, so I went ahead and put those wards back up. Hope you guys, did you need them?
Well, and that's
I
when
went ahead and put
that's
them
when
back
she
up.
leaves. And then she's broken.
Yeah.
And she goes, there's a possibility. That's when she has
Yes.
that moment. And then then
It's
at
her new moon era.
And then at the end, Andarna shows up in the light blue, in the like light silver blue that all the Arids, their natural color is like Carolina blue. She shows up like that. And I'm just like, Okay, so for 5-10 chapters, we thought that a piece of her soul had been ripped away. I actually think that Andarna, if those dragons are actually magic, they can probably shape magic. So Andarna didn't actually separate and slice the bond completely. She like left a part of herself there, which is why she showed back up. But yeah, Andarna's in the last chapter. The chapter starts off with Andarna going, I won't let them burn you. I won't let them burn you.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do I have to read this
I mean,
to figure out what happened?
It's just like
it's not hard. It must be a reading comprehension.
we're looking for we're looking for the seventh dragons for like 95% of the book, and then they literally are like, "Hey, so you guys were taking too long to find us, so we went ahead and found you."
And we have the emotional maturity, intellect, and wisdom of a 15-year-old.
I think that's what Rebecca thinks smart people are like. I think she thinks smart people are mean.
Yeah.
I think that's what she thinks because every smart character is mean. The Irids are mean. The Wisdom Island, which by the way is not a wisdom island, it's a logic island.
It's a logic island.
Yeah.
Are mean. They're the meanest of all
Nothing
of them.
about them was wise.
No. Every person who's smart, who's defined as smart in the book, like we're supposed to believe they're the smart character, are all mean. Like all mean. I really think she thinks smart people are just mean.
Who was that guy that died with the arrow card?
Traeger.
Who was that?
Kat's boyfriend for like
Cat's
2
boyfriend
paragraphs.
for like a chapter. She was coming out of her Xaden sorrow, and then all of a sudden, we get a chapter
I
where
have
she's like,
no emotional connection
That
to
was the
Traeger.
and he just
cheapest
got
bullshit.
No, do you know what was sad about it? Not him. It was his
The griffin.
griffin. That's the emotional pull.
Yeah.
Is when his griffin dies.
Yeah. I was like, wow, you killed a griffin just to throw a death
that
in
was
there.
the
Coming off of Fourth Wing.
tarot card Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what I call that.
Yes. The tarot card Super Bowl. That's exactly what that was.
But with Loki,
oh my God.
the god of chaos.
Yeah.
Yep.
After coming off of Fourth Wing, where I physically sobbed, like tears streaming down my face, snot coming down over Liam dying. Okay? That's an emotional connection where you lose like a serious character.
He was a great character.
Everyone that died in this, I was like,
Okay.
whatever.
Quinn's death was sad, but we got there really late. It was really lazy.
I would have loved to have been involved in that, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
As a reader of these books, I was not involved in that.
I just think she thinks someone has to die at the end. Because Liam dies at the end, the mom dies at the end, and then Quinn dies at the end.
And her point is she is a military wife, and her husband has seen combat, I think, several times. And I've heard her talk about like people die. Your teammates, your people from your battalions and your units, they die. And so in her mind, that's what she's doing. Like, of course people die.
Yeah.
But she's not able to make those connections through her writing process that give it the depth, that make it seem purposeful.
Right. Like that you care
Yes.
that they died.
And it also feels really like there was no reason for that to happen.
No.
And stories have to have that to be concise and, well written and well rounded.
If at any point we had seen Quinn from Quinn's point of view, it would have mattered because you would have connected to the character.
A couple chapters early on about Imogen and Quinn's friendship.
Yeah.
And how important it was to them.
But at this point, Violet's so wrapped up in Xaden, she's dumped all of her friends.
Oh, it's called codependency.
Yeah.
When you, that's
Not
codependency.
even Rhiannon. Not even Rhiannon. She doesn't even I think we see her like twice.
Right.
And she's just like, well, she's busy being a leader now. Like, no, you're just too busy with your boyfriend who's like invalidating you every 5 minutes.
Yeah, who doesn't think that your journey and what you want for the two of you is important because he doesn't believe you.
And then
that
I was so excited about her dad's secret book, which they find the first secret book off page, which is fine. Dane walks in there and
You mean his botany journals?
well, the first one was fun because we got to figure out the lock. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, that was cool.
and it was, I don't even remember what was in that book, but the letter at the front of the book was like, go to this place. I hit these things for you.
Trust no one but Mira.
Yeah.
ooh, yeah, not going to do that.
Yeah.
Not going to trust Mira at all.
Right.
I mean, the funniest part of the book, though, is when they go to that shopkeeper's house and she's like,
That was my favorite part.
Oh, the
You-
Dane.
yeah.
I knew you'd end up. He thought you might end up with Dane.
you
I was
look,
like, should have.
you are just as he described
handsome as I thought you'd
Dane
be,
ate
Dane.
toast. Meanwhile, Dane is actually there, probably like, oh no. Zayden's probably losing his mind. Like that was a cute. That was a moment. I enjoyed
but then
that
the
moment.
books are botany journals. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that
and then she's
payoff
like,
was shit.
"Oh no, we have 4 locks," and I'm like, "Okay."
And then the
so
next chapter, well, I figured out the locks already.
here, you read this book. You read. It felt like they were all reading.
And we library so much. They're reading stupid books the entire book, and nobody gets anything from any of the books. The books
What
don't
is
tell
the
them where the
point
dragons
of any
are.
of it?
The books don't tell them how to fight the venom. The books don't do any. They don't do
This
anything.
was my face for the entirety of the book.
yeah,
Hannah looks confused,
and she's squinting her
slightly
eyes,
upset, maybe
which I
frustrated,
think makes her
difficult to
brain
tell.
work better. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was so mad when, like, I was, and they feel annoyance and anger the whole time too.
Yeah.
So some of it was
that's the
me
only
feeling-
emotion anyone feels. Anger and lust.
Dude, when I re-listened to the Rhiannon chapter on the way over here, and you listen to the way that Rhiannon's dragon talks to her, she has the same personality as Taryn.
Yeah.
Like, why is everybody just sarcastic and sassy? Like, that's not the
We have
gamut.
different kinds of
The people, different kinds of dragons.
Yeah.
Why do the dragons? Okay, so the dragons can only use their magic if they're bonded to a person. Okay, that makes sense.
I don't think Rebecca has a lot of friends.
She got 6 kids. She ain't got no time for friends.
She ain't got no friends.
She up to 6 now?
I mean, I think she's always had 6,
I
hasn't
don't.
she?
Did we say 3 in the last
Oh,
episode?
I don't know.
I don't know. Many, many children.
Many.
Yeah, but
No.
I don't know.
At the end of the last book, we find out Andarna woke up to be with Violet.
Right.
And then this entire book, the only thing we ever say to Andarna is stay.
Right.
Stay in the car, Andarna. That's literally it.
The whole Andarna thing was very
She was
frustrating.
just
to
no
me.
payoff.
when she
and
meets-
she's a terrible character.
I thought this was going to be Andarna's book.
Right.
I thought, okay, yeah, let's go on this quest to find Andarna's
and
people.
when she meets her people are assholes.
And it was such a
Oh,
yeah.
letdown.
You are-
And then nothing.
Because smart people are
Oh, they
mean.
call her the Criterion. Isn't that what they call her? The Criterion?
I don't remember. They're like, wow, we sent you off to go live with those people and you turned out just
And
like them.
you
You're
were
such a fucking disappointment.
You're supposed to be a litmus.
She was an egg.
You were.
How was
you're-
she supposed to know?
Yeah, she's a litmus test for how good the humans are now.
Yeah,
because
that's
they're a
fucked
species.
up.
They're a species of peace. So they found this little girl dragon because she has the personality of an adolescent. I mean, she's like a teenager at this point, but and they're like, we don't like you. Why are you black? Like, why do you want to look like him? Why do you act like that? Why do you think? No, like,
Oh my God, Karen.
Oh,
You just can't
stop.
ask someone why they're black.
no, get out of here. Because she wants to look like Taryn. She has purpley black dragon
I
skin.
know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I wasn't talking to you. I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
to the people in the book.
Yeah. And they're like all this silvery blue color, and they're just so mean to her. Instead of
They're
you know,
ridiculous, is what they are.
anybody with, and they're hundreds of years old. They would
They're all unhealed.
wisdom, right?
So
Low-
unhealed.
so low
Just
frequency.
mean. Just mean.
So
You know
low
what? Everyone's
frequency.
mean and angry. This book was so exhausting because everyone's just angry.
I had to push my way through this book, and I'm tired.
It was exhausting.
I was wiped as well, and
Yeah.
there was a period of time after the trials, as we're going to like, my friend thought I was going to hate the fact that Andarna left. And I was like, no, I think that's the smartest thing she could possibly do in the book. Andarna needed to leave.
Yes.
You are holding her back. She needs to go learn who she is, what she is. Like, that is her hero's journey. she needs to go.
Yeah, she didn't go for long, so it's fine anyway.
And she comes back, and maybe it is because she's still bonded to Violet, and she knew that something bad was happening, blah, 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 blah. But how about
so
they're
she
married?
could dream walk again.
Oh, yeah. Her second signet is dream walking.
What
God.
stupid signet. I'm sorry.
Stupid.
Unless it ends up being more powerful, and it's more like mind walking. Right?
Right. I mean,
I
it
have
could,
no-
it
I
could
have
go somewhere,
no
but the
faith.
faith that I have now is diminished.
Zero. I have zero.
It-
Faith.
yeah, it's-
None. Negative faith.
I just see how she has
This is
ruined
the best
everything.
book I've ever read. There's a lot of that. A lot of it. And
Yeah,
I
read
just-
enough books then.
I
I just feel like Hannah does, where I'm like, why do I dislike it?
I wanted to
I
be
wanna
that.
like it.
I want to like it. I want to be
Yeah.
so happy right now. I
I
don't want
wanna
to feel
have-
exhausted and frustrated.
I should say it's okay if you liked this book.
It's fine.
If you've made it this far and you're like,
If
these
you
people
liked
don't
this
like
book,
me. No, it's
that
fine.
is totally fine.
It's
yeah,
totally
and
fine.
people like
I
different
just-
things.
because I know we make fun and we have fun, but it's important to remember we're not criticizing the people who like the book,
No.
just the book
Just
from
the
our
author that
perspective.
ruined it.
Yes.
No, she didn't. She has been set up for failure.
Yes.
You do not build a world that needs to be completely immersive overnight. How many years did it take Stephen King to write the Dark Tower series?
like 20 years.
20 years.
That's
How
what
long
I'm
did it
saying.
take
We're not
San-
giving people enough time.
How long did it
No.
take Brando to write the Stormlight? It was like 15 years.
Yeah.
Even Sarah, because, okay, so I looked, Throne of Glass did come out in 8 years. All 8 books did come out in 8 years. However, she had been thinking about that world since she was a teenager.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she had so much of it outlined, and like she knew the world, and it got substantially better as she got older. But she was also with Bloomsbury, so she had like
Editors.
better editors.
Well, I think what happened to Rebecca is she wrote a Fourth Wing is it's a good book. It's fine. It's a fundamentally flawed world.
Yeah.
The world and the conflict that she established has issues that should have been caught by an editor and fixed. And now she's locked into them.
And
Yeah.
they could have been fixed, I feel like, in book
Yes.
2. But they weren't.
They
So
weren't.
now we're screwed.
Right. And so instead of getting better, we're on a trajectory for it to just get more and more unbelievable as time goes on because you're just taking these fundamental flaws and multiplying them and trying to patch them over with complexity, but it's not even really complexity. It's
The
just
complexity makes it
obfuscation.
the complex. I don't know what obfuscation means.
It's like deliberately hiding it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, making
It
it so
feels vague,
complicated,
yeah.
like foggy.
and to some people that feels like
Yeah,
cleverness.
it does, but
and
it's-
intelligence. To me, it feels like that isn't what it feels like when you read really well written world and like thorough world building world.
Right, because we have so much experience with well-constructed fantasy worlds, it's easy to go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Like I made a list. Destroying the knowledge of Venin and how the wards work makes no sense. None. Having it in a secret library, maybe, like removing it from public, like from circulation, okay. But you are literally telling me you have a force, like a dragon riding army, that you are training to fight on the border against who?
They had been lying to him, and they were supposed to be the Poromil, the Canada.
So they've been fighting.
Basically, they were fighting Canada.
Yeah. So they've been fighting the Griffin
Brilliant.
Riders.
Yeah.
They've been fighting the Griffin Riders.
Big fan of Canada this week.
The only
Big
thing
fan.
the only thing that the Griffins wanted to do was come into their
So they could be safe.
so they could be safe. So we're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the bad guys. And the thing that they're running away from is the venin that literally somehow we've all forgotten existed.
And they were folklore.
They're folklore. They're not even folklore because remember she has that book
And they
that's
were
like
folktales.
forbidden.
The only book.
But she had a
Yeah.
In the world.
little kids book.
But it's a
yeah, but
forbidden
it was
kids book.
forbidden, and it was the only
Yeah.
one of its kind.
yeah,
Right.
and then as soon as the entire army and the entire military realizes that the venin are real, nobody brings up the fact that everybody's family was murdered.
Right.
Like, why isn't
Right.
there
That's part of the
Can we
fundamental
go back
flaw
to
of the world.
that you killed everybody and that
Right.
you need to, like, that would start a revolution.
Yeah, you somehow hid an entire evil magical race. And now you've set us up to where nobody has any knowledge of them. No one can question them. But then you also don't provide the reader with like I don't know what their motivation is.
Power, obviously.
If they take
power.
but if they drain all the magic, you can completely drain an area of magic. It is a non-renewable resource, so it doesn't refill over time. So the more magic that they pull from the source, the less powerful they are over time because
like, they
also
cannot renew.
They also expend the energy and have to refill it.
Unless, Rachel, we just don't know what renews the magic. Which probably has something to do with those fucking dragon eggs. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
like, that's how a
the
person.
dragon
That's how
eggs.
somebody would be like, well, I think it's really just because we don't know yet, really.
I think it's because she doesn't know yet. Sure. And then
Yeah.
we have the runes, which we've completely hidden rune magic. We also destroyed rune magic. And so we didn't know rune magic. So we don't have
In
any
Navarre,
magical
yeah.
technology. We don't have. They don't know how to fight with their signets. That's what Zayden's whole school is. Because remember in Onyx Storm at one point, he is like the Duke of a kingdom. He's a professor. He's he's the magic, like the shadow wielder.
Professor
Zeddy. And the only
Professor
reason she
Zeddy.
did that was because she needed there to be tension within the relationship.
Yeah, she
and
needed
they
to
couldn't
separate them.
bang if he was her teacher.
That's literally the only
Like,
reason.
surely there's a different way to create tension in a relationship other than not being able to have
if
sex.
your book is about romance, then you need to bring in the cavalry. Like, is that the word?
Cavalry?
Cavalry.
Cavalry.
Calgary.
No.
Cavalry.
Like
cavalry.
Yeah. The backup horses.
You need, the backup horses. You got to bring in the rest of the romance. That is what you do. You build out the world, not only the fantasy world. You give, Dane and Sloane, give them.
I don't
some
know what
stuff
you're
going
talking
on.
about with that.
And then Garrick and
I'm
Imogen,
sorry.
and you make that happen. And then Drake and Mira, like, you make that happen. And
yeah,
like,
you have other
Who
couples.
is Drake?
Drake is the guy that she punches in the balls. That is,
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I felt the tension there.
Yeah, that's-
I don't know what you're talking about Dane and Sloan.
Girl, I'll send you the. It's
So wait,
there.
is Sloane's
He
power-
looks at her in the face and says, "Look at me. You can do this. You're
Yeah,
gonna
but-
hurt me." And she says, "I'm gonna hurt you." And he goes, "Don't I know it,
Okay.
Mr. Dane? I talk you through it, Atos."
Okay, now that you looked me in the eye
I
and
know.
said that, I do feel that.
I know.
Ooh, Kate.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, Dane all of a sudden has this redemption arc, and I'm like, Dane, you're the only thing that I'm gonna come back for.
How
Yeah.
does Sloane's power not make her venom?
Right.
Right.
That's what I've been screaming.
If Zayden taking power
like,
from
Sloan.
No, Hannah, what did you say earlier today
About what?
about the power thing, if you remember? You need me to remind you.
I need you to remind me, please.
You said, why is it so easy to become a bad guy?
Oh,
Yeah.
why is it so easy to become a venom?
like super easy, like
Like,
cray easy.
oops.
Like I
Like
can do
you're
it on
just-
accident
Like
when
you
I'm on
could
the
be like
fighting mat.
you
and
could be
someone's gonna
fighting for
stab
good.
me.
Is that what happens?
That one girl.
Like she gets overwhelmed and pulls from
well,
the source?
first of all,
Yeah.
nobody has told anybody how to fight with their magic. They're just like, yay, you have fire magic, yay, yay, and that's it. They're not like, okay,
Well-
let's learn how to make fireballs and projectiles
well,
and whatever.
I think the assumption is that they are getting some kind of training.
Is it?
They
Because
have cars
But
class.
they've never learned how to fight each other with it. That is what you're talking
or
about.
learn to not
like
pull from the source.
when they go into
that should be a class on its own. Fuck physics.
Yeah.
We should have not pulling
physics.
from the source
Not-
101.
yes.
Everyone is demanded to go to that.
The lack
not
of
doing the lines of cocaine everywhere around
Physics.
you.
Physics.
the lack of centralizing of the magic that you're giving
No.
me. You're giving me these people who can wield lightning, who can change weather,
Who can
Who
wield
can-
shadows?
fuck, I'm so fucking tired of shadows. Shadows. Just like you're giving me these people that have such power. You can freeze an entire wyvern so that they fall out of the sky.
And break in half.
And it is not central in their culture at
No.
all.
The lack of reverence and like giant religion and spirituality around the connection with the dragons does not make any
The
fucking
religion gets on my
sense.
nerves so bad.
Does not make any fucking
You can't.
sense.
I had this complaint in Fourth Wing. I had this complaint in Iron Flame, and I have it now. The way she structures the way that they treat the dragons makes no fucking sense.
You have been saying that since day one.
because
Day one.
you can't tell me that you need these dragons, need them, and then treat them like they're cannon fodder and like they're nothing. And then tell me that these dragons are so proud they won't even let someone who's not their rider ride them. But then we separate Sigale and Taryn at any opportunity. And they're like, you can't separate them. And we're like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, but you have to listen to me.
And my friend is like, well, I mean, that's kind of like, the military where they don't really respect the rules.
A
and
magical military?
A military where the nukes are something that people fly on.
Yeah.
And that everybody's battle their weapons, their weaponry.
Yeah.
We have the strongest military because we have dragons. Well, then the dragons become the top priority. That way, that means that the priority is the dragons not being separated.
Yeah.
If that keeps the two most powerful nuclear weapons,
Nuclear?
weapons,
Yeah.
together, then that's what you do.
Right.
That is the top notch. But no, they act like humans in this world, Earth 616.
Yeah.
Right where we are, they act like fucking people here that just have dragons.
Right.
Those dragons aren't fighter jets. They are literal magical beings.
Right.
That is why I think that quintessentially is
That's why it's not high fantasy.
that is why it doesn't fucking make sense.
Right. And there's people who have done dragon militaries that make a lot of sense. There's the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. If you want a good
Oh, I have another thing too.
If you want a good dragon series where it makes a lot of sense, once people do, because we have a limited number of signets, there's like fire, ice, metal. There's not an infinite variation. There's repetition. You should have squads where you have your fire wielder, your ice wielder,
and you build teams based on that.
you build teams
Ooh.
based on it, and you have like your dagger tail. She forgot that every dragon had a different tail.
Yep.
And that they all could do different stuff with their tails.
It is unhinged.
There's no
And
consistency with the world building.
If we can discuss the most AI thing that I think happened in this book,
Okay.
is when she starts describing things in terms of the size of dragons. This is 4 dragons wide. This is 2 dragons wide. And there's a section where she says that this area is the width of 2 dragons with their wings spread, or 4 dragons with their wings put together. Now, if that's how that works, that means that each dragon's wing is only half the width of its body on either side. So if Taryn is 10 feet wide, his wings are
2.5 each.
5 foot long each.
Oh, okay.
So he
Get
has
the whiteboard out.
So he
right
has
That's a dumpy
he
ass
has
dragon.
these little like
Yeah. No, and if you look at the wingspan, if you look at the amount of wingspan that a giant reptile, a giant lizard would have to have, look at pterodactyls. They are tiny little birds with hollow bones.
Yeah.
The amount of wing that they would have to have, it would be
It
And
has to be like
Taryn-
in House of Dragon when they have those giant wings.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like Taryn, who Violet comes up to his ankle bone.
Right.
Okay, so his ankle bone is 5 feet off the ground.
Ankle. And the wyverns are supposed to be bigger than the dragon.
What?
I know. I saw a thing the other day. I was like, is that true?
They only have
No, I
2
don't
legs.
think that's whatever.
Well-
why do they fight on wyverns? Why do the venom fight on wyverns when their magic is when they're connected to the ground? Remember in the last book how we had to
They
get
could
off
have
the ground?
brooms.
We had to get off the ground.
Well, now
get
that,
off
but
the ground.
now we
fly
Okay,
around.
so the way that she answered that in this book,
Did she?
yeah, you know why?
I love
Because we
this
didn't
voice.
know before, and we do know now that they have their own magic powers. They do have signets.
Yeah, she
So
realized she needed those in order to make them
so
dramatic.
because they do have signets, they can fight from the wyverns.
Oh, can they?
Yeah.
I want to
Okay.
talk about the
But
amount
But
of
you
do
will
that.
really know
lost.
in book 5.
I'm not getting to book 5.
I have another
I'm gonna be
question.
real.
I've already decided. I've already told my pal. I said, "Girl, we doing story time next time because I want to know. I want to know about the relationships. I want to know about
I'll
how
watch
it ends
the
it up."
show.
I have a question.
She's also still writing really episodically, but if you watch that show and every episode was like a new monster of the week, episode, which is what it feels like. Oh, another adventure. We're heading up to the town where Aura and the Grady dies.
And in this week's episode, we meet Zayden's mom.
yeah. Oh,
Next week's exciting episode.
yeah. Zayden's mom and 2 younger brothers.
While we're still talking about the ground, I have a question.
Okay.
So at the very end, Stephanie is going to drain Violet, and she's like, if you just took the magic out of the land around you already, I couldn't get to you. And so she ends up climbing up on the wyvern to like, haha, you can't touch me. Can they just wear very thick shoes?
Yeah, with dragon scale
Because
shoes.
technically
Like
speaking,
these.
Yeah, like
if
a
they had enough,
nice platform UGG.
A platform UGG, a platform croc.
they could literally wear platform Crocs
Yeah.
and be safe from the
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You just won the war, Rachel.
And our secret weapon is platform battle boots.
They just need to give all their dragons shoes.
Yeah. No. Okay, another thing that doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay, if the dragons and the riders have a symbiotic relationship,
Yeah.
and the dragons, why are the age-old, wise, highly incredibly intelligent dragons, why is their ego so big that they all won't wear saddles? If the idea is
Because
to have
that's what she thinks it looks like. That's what Rebecca thinks it looks. Smart people are mean.
no, that's not smart.
No, I
That's
know that.
We
it
know
doesn't
that.
make
We
sense
know that.
She doesn't know
every
that.
rider doesn't have a way to lock the fuck in.
Yeah,
yes, everyone should have a saddle.
Everyone should have a way
what do
to
they
lock
tie
the
their
fuck
cargo to?
in. Lock
What
the
do
fuck
they
just
in.
have to hold backpack.
Because remember at a certain point in the last book when there was a secret rebellion, which we
and they're
kind of
smuggling
sort
weapons.
of forgot everything about, and they were smuggling wagons or whatever alloy, because we couldn't come up with a name for alloy, which the alloy. We were sneaking that out. What were they tying the cargo to?
I
mean,
thought they were
obviously-
just like cramming it between the dragon scales.
They're just
Armpits.
the
wearing
spikes.
No,
The
they're just
knee
wearing
pits.
gigantic.
Well, it's just like
backpacks.
them carrying the fucking basket with him in it. So
The
they,
basket had me on the floor.
yeah, that little
When they landed and that man got out of his little basket, I was
like a hot air balloon.
dead.
And didn't the Griffins?
The
carry
Griffins
it?
had to carry it.
It doesn't make sense to me with this world and what
Yes.
she's doing that
Yes.
the dragons would be that egotistical and
Correct.
arrogant.
Yeah, but because they're smart people, they have to be mean.
because they
they're
build
hundreds
they
of years
build a
old.
saddle.
And they care about their rider
And
more
it's-
than anything
and
else.
they're-
They're bonded to the rider. If the rider dies, they could die.
yeah.
but they're like, then you better fucking hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't make any
Doesn't
sense.
make any
meanwhile,
sense.
meanwhile, like when Taryn's like, Violet's always updating her saddle, and she creates a saddle that makes it easier for her to sleep and rest on the long fucking journeys.
Yep.
That is
That-
so smart.
Yeah.
Seeing
and
as it takes 18 hours to fly
it
anywhere.
does not make sense for all of those dragons in this world to be sassy assholes, sarcastic assholes.
Right.
Nope.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for the Wisdom Island people to be sassy assholes either.
No, it doesn't.
No, but smart people are mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one that I really love in this book is Riddick. And maybe
I like
Mira.
Dane.
And Dane.
Now that you know.
And Mira.
And
Dane
Mira.
doesn't get to use his signet
how
in this
about-
whole book. Does Dane have to touch your face, or can he touch you anywhere?
I think he has to touch your face.
Well, and but
He has to be close to your brain.
why aren't we learning more about them? The only person who we learned has actively participated in expanding the muscles of their signet was Riddick. And then there's a
And
part,
Rhiannon.
yeah, and Rhiannon when she pulls out,
She's
this,
like, because I practiced.
right, but like, why aren't we talking more about that? Like, she's doing too much. I said this in the last pod, and I would like to pat myself on the back because I am right. Her stakes and her world is getting too big too fast.
Yep.
I do not trust her to be able to wrap it up. I do not trust her from book to book. I don't give a shit about Xaden and Violet anymore.
Nope.
I am glad they're married. I was fucking tired of them not being married. It did not make sense to me why they were not married. It didn't.
If they're married.
They are married.
According to a ring on her finger, she was roofied and wakes up married.
She wasn't roofied.
She had her own memories
She
removed.
had her memories wiped. And she told Imogen
Which
to do it. Which means that the first two chapters... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it just means the entire next book is going to be her trying to be the leader of a country.
What are you talking about? It's not... Oh, okay. I was going to say the first 2 chapters of the next book are going to be her figuring out what happened in those 12 hours.
2 chapters tops.
2 chapters tops.
Are they going to figure it off page and they're just going to explain it in the first paragraph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, guys,
Yeah.
the mystery that you've been waiting for
I
2
saw
years.
that. It's fine. It's a year later. I already figured that shit out. And
Yeah.
Xaden's better and we're back together again.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You should write the next one.
Well,
I honestly felt like I
here's-
could have done a better job.
Here's all
Yeah.
the mysteries. I want to win the lottery. I would like to win $1 billion and then pay somebody millions of dollars, like nice
To rewrite these?
to edit them and make them what they deserve to be.
There is a sentence towards like when they come back from the stupidest islands I've
Did
ever
you-
read in my
I
entire
can
life.
pull it up. I thought you should read it.
I don't have my phone on me, but
Here, I'll find it while you
I took a
talk.
picture and sent it to Kate because it felt like she wrote down her notes and that's all she left in there. And I can't believe an editor let that through. The fact that we run away from the college and I was like, finally, we're not fucking at the college. And we go and do the islands, which were the dumbest payoff I have ever been through it felt so elementary fiction.
Yes.
That each island was color coded, had one culture, it was awful. It was like early Star Trek where every time you go to a
Yes.
planet, everyone is like,
yes.
they have the one magic thing that they do and then you leave and at the end, just like in Star Trek, we reset back to the beginning. We all just went back to school again. And they're literally like, y'all, that wasn't cool. Okay, go to class. They interrogate them
Physics.
for 12 hours, which we don't know what that means. And then they're like, well, you did get an army for us, who never shows up, by the way. There's no payoff for that.
What army?
What army? 40,000 people. I don't know. I guess they were still on boats.
We lost Kat's boyfriend for 2 seconds over that. Hope
And
it
we
was
didn't even
worth
get
it.
him.
I don't even know if it was worth it.
Didn't feel like it. And then they come back and it's nothing. And then her line is literally like, and then Dane went back to class and then I went to physics class and then Xaden went back to teaching and then Mira went back to the island.
Zaddy.
That was such a stretch.
I can't deal with him being a professor. I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
So you couldn't find it?
Oh, I got distracted.
And then irids being short for iridescence was the biggest pet
What?
peeve of my life.
Wait, you didn't catch that?
Yeah, irids are
No.
only irids because it's short for iridescent. There's a part where she goes, yes, please. I almost died. I was like, I don't know if I can finish this book. I just don't know if I can. When she's like an island devoted to learning, yes, please. And I was like, no,
yeah.
no,
No. Ooh.
I know. And then they go to that island and they poison them. Oh, first we meet Xaden's mom, which is the worst use of Xaden's mom I've ever heard in my entire
Terrible.
life. Just terrible.
Terrible.
Oh my God. It was something so important to be so lackadaisical with it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what she said. This is the worst sentence. She said, this is the worst sentence I have ever read in a book. This isn't a book. This is notes for a book. Mira and Garrick are released back to the front on March 28th, the last day of our Inquisition. Drake departs for Corden. Brennan arrives from Eratia to mend my ribs. Xaden is hauled into scenario meetings while being returned to his position as a professor.
That is the notes.
That is the notes for a book. That is the notes for a book. I can't. I can't. I fucking can't. That was so... Okay. We have to read a good book after this.
Yeah.
Well,
Please.
yeah.
Which is why I immediately started listening to Edge Dancer because I needed something. It's like I've been eating crap all weekend and I needed a vegetable, you know?
Yeah.
I started reading a ton of monster romance.
Nice.
And I
That's-
just-
even those short stories are just like clean and neat.
And I just don't know why this made me so like aggressively angry. Like I was angry at how bad this book was. And
I was mad too.
And
I had like low grade rage.
I laid awake at night. Matt was like, "You were awake all night." I was like, "I know. I was just awake."
It's
mad
because
at how
it
was.
insists upon itself.
I'm so sorry, Rach.
It's fine, but it's like I've read bad books before, and you're just like,
Yeah, it was a bad
I mean,
book.
that was okay. Like I didn't love every Sarah J. Maas book. I didn't lay awake angry at how bad they were. I just didn't love them, and this was like I was aggressively upset at
because
how
it just
bad it
feels
was.
so much like an industry mistake. Like this feels like we're doing something bad with books.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's getting too
This
popularized.
is
It's getting
the
too commercial.
fastest selling book ever.
That's upsetting.
It's upsetting because it pushes other better books out. Like I read
Yeah,
a book
there's
called
people that are
there's
writing
room, there's room
actually-
for all books. There is room for all books.
Like I just read a really good book called Someone to Build a Nest In. And it's a really cute book. The main character is like a flesh monster. And there was more romance in it than was in this entire book.
Wow.
And it's got great representation because the flesh monster is feminine. She falls in love with a woman. And there's just so much about that book that I really loved. And it's out right now. And it came out, or I think it came out before Onyx Storm, but no one's going from Onyx Storm to Someone You Can Build a Nest In, which is really sad because it's a good
And
book.
look,
but
there are like hundreds of thousands of people who this book was for them.
I think
And-
it feels like, I think it's triggering for me because it feels like, again, like when I was reading Twilight and I was like, these books are not good books. And everyone was like, yeah, they
Feels
are.
like
There's
you're being
something wrong with
gaslit.
you.
Yeah.
And like, no,
feels-
I don't think there's
It
anything wrong
feels
with
like
me.
a gaslighting situation.
Yeah, where everyone's like, no, it's because you can't read. And like, I'm sorry.
I can weed.
I can read just fine.
I know how to weed.
And I read because I love prose and I love character. And this book had neither character nor prose.
Clearly, from what we just heard.
But this book does have action that doesn't necessarily connect to any of the other action.
No, not even
But
a
it,
little
and
bit.
it does have some contemporary romance, and for some, it Goodreads biased, of course, because it's going to be the people who read it immediately that
Yeah.
really like it. 430,000 reviews.
Jesus Christ.
245. Well, it's actually like 246,000 of them are 5 stars.
It starts to feel like a popularity contest
I think that
where you don't feel allowed to rate it lower. So you either don't rate it at all
well, and there
or you
is
don't say
there
anything.
is a lot of like I don't like I wouldn't make a post about it being bad because I've seen the
You're
discourse.
going to get jumped on.
yeah,
You're going
kind
to get
of
piled on.
Yeah, you get swiftied
Yeah.
by the Rebecca Yarros girls. And like Caitlin and I even have like a hard moment because I was like, oh, and now I know how you feel about Silver Flames because I am like, I don't enjoy this. I enjoy facets of it. I love the memes and I love y'all theory all you want. I think the theories kind of ruin books
Yeah.
personally.
I don't like theorizing.
No, I like to read authors that I trust to give me a compelling story.
Yeah.
And I don't even enjoy the sex in this book.
No, because it's not, I didn't care about Xaden and
I didn't
Violet
care.
even a little bit.
Y'all know I love Xaden and Violet sex. I did not care in this book.
No, there was no push and pull. There
Him
was
washing
no,
her hair was the best thing that happened.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
were no
'cause it was
small. There was
actually
nothing romantic.
gentle.
They never sat down and just, you know, the
Or
the
had
critical
a date. Like, or snuck off on a journey together. Like
one of the critical flaws of this entire book is they can't ride together on a dragon and have a conversation on the dragon. And Segale's not even in the book. Fuck Segale. She gets one entire line in the entire book.
Which really is frustrating. And I think that's supposed to be because she's not talking to Xaden. There's no development of that relationship at all. The dragons are the best part of this book.
Right.
The
and
dragons,
they're the same at the beginning. It's like Violet and Xaden don't change. Their relationship doesn't change. She's like, I can fix you. And he's like, no, you can't. And that's it for the entire book. I can fix you. No, you can't. I can fix you. No, you can't.
well,
Blah, blah, blah,
Yarros wears her chart on her sleeve. Like, she is Aries. Like, so much Aries. And
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Hannah does not look like there's nothing wrong
But
with that.
I could feel it. I was like, this is a person who is all action, no self-reflection, and no like and Aries, it's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the youngest, most action-oriented sign. So that is what it's sassy, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't
Snarky.
and snarky. And if you watch her interviews, it's just all snark. Which at times can feel just like good banter. And sometimes her dialogue is decent and I don't hate it. Like sometimes I like
the AI.
but I like it's fine if Riddick's like that. It's fine if like but give me some softness.
Something.
Give me some
Let
like
them
different
sit down and have a-
personalities. Like let the dragons.
Everyone has the same personality.
Everybody.
Yeah, I know that,
Yeah.
and it infuriates me because the dragons shouldn't. Like just like we all have different personalities.
Yeah.
You know,
And
like
that's why we have a
every
compelling podcast. If we just sat here and
Do
echoed
we?
each other.
do we?
I think so.
Okay,
I'm compelled.
Do you not enjoy coming to sit down and chat, Kate?
I love this. I have such a good time. So much fun.
Well, that's the whole
So
point.
somebody told me they were listening, and I was like, "Oh, okay, you don't have to do that."
That's not the right attitude.
I was like, "Oh no, you don't have to." No, okay.
Yeah.
Just heads up, like
We just got no moment. Like, we just got no interior moments. Like, in the last book we got Liam's ghost?
Yeah.
How she
Yeah.
would see Liam's ghost?
and you're like, "What does that
Yes.
mean?"
And it made you actually
That was
care.
super powerful.
What we could have seen her mom. We could have seen.
Oh, and it was supposed to feel like a twist that Theophany wasn't.
Stephanie.
Yeah, that Thumbelina, Stephanie, that her power wasn't lightning. It was her mom's
Yes,
storm.
because
that was supposed to feel like a twist, and I was like,
Really?
I don't feel twisted.
I don't
I don't
don't
care.
What?
Honestly, it just makes me feel like you're an idiot because of the fucking tornado
I
that
thought
happened.
tornadoes showed up around Venom. I thought it was like maggots or something. Like they just popped up. Oh my God, that was no.
It's a tornado.
And can we talk about how much more powerful that power is than Violet's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think at the
No,
end when
'cause she says she can spin up a storm
yeah,
and then
but
let it go.
she can't straight up like take 6 wyverns out of the sky at one time.
If she created a big enough thunderstorm, she could make it so they couldn't fly.
but
She
it
could
is
suck them up in
she's
one
never-
giant twister.
That's true. She's never really spent a lot of time talking about the fact that if there isn't a storm, if the conditions for lightning aren't good, then it wipes her faster. Like that's not
a druid spell in Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah, because
Yeah.
she or magic
And that's literally how the spell works. Is if it's stormy, it costs less. It takes less energy, or you can
Yeah.
do more damage.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
probably read through that.
Yeah, because we had a whole campaign where we had someone who had that, and he had to check the weather. So he had to roll percentage dice to see if it was
If it was
stormy.
cloudy or not.
Because remember last time we talked about how Xaden's power, his like being able to see intention felt like a really good insight check.
Yeah.
Like that's all it
yeah,
was.
like he just rolls a nat 20
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Right. I found a list
Wait, is an
online.
insight check
Insight.
is an inside the insight check, is that the big dice or is that a little
That's
dice?
a D20.
It is a
Yeah.
D20.
So I found a list online of stuff that Rebecca said she was going to tackle in this book. And I want to read it and see if we think she did or
All right,
did not.
this will be fun.
So she
Okay.
said she was going to discuss identifying signs that someone is a venin.
Red eyes.
And in the veins. Are the veins new? The veins on the
No,
temple?
not really.
Is
we
that
knew
not
that.
new?
That
I
was
don't
from the
know.
first
I
book.
feel like we never see the venin. You know what bothered me? No one ever considers that there's a spy. They're like, oh my God, how do they know?
No,
How do they
the
know?
fact that they're not spending enough time recognizing that their military is the problem.
This is
Like,
the
you-
worst
you-
military I've ever seen.
That
in my
you
life.
guys
So
are
bad.
in the bad place. You're in the bad place.
You're the bad
You're
guys.
the
You're the bad
problem.
guys.
And then they're like, oh, guys, the bad guy is Pancheck. And I was like, who? Who's? Who?
And check.
Yeah.
Commander.
Obviously, we didn't do our rereads, and obviously, we
okay.
don't have reading comprehension.
Okay.
Right.
So we did identify.
Obviously.
So I guess she
Okay,
did identify the
sure.
signs that someone is a venin because.
But we already knew that.
But in the first book, we just thought Jack Barlow's eyes were bloodshot. And then in the next book, they were like, oh, and then Xaden's eyes don't have gold flecks anymore. They have
Amber.
which I argued is a little.
color.
It's not.
It's the
One's a
same
little bit
color.
more
It's
orange.
the same color.
Amber's orange. and
Nobody's looking at her boyfriend's eyes that close. She's like, people are going to know. Nobody's going to fucking
No
know.
one
one's
is
gonna
going
know.
close
No one's
enough to
gonna
Nobody's
Zayden.
know.
like-
Everyone is
nobody's
terrified
like,
of Zayden. No
Xaden.
one's going up.
Let me look you in the eye.
Let me look at you.
Oh my God, are those
Professor.
slightly more orange than they were the other day?
They must be amber.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've gone full amber. I
Yeah.
couldn't. It's so dumb. All right, the second one. Details on Jack Barlow turning venin.
No.
No. We get that one
No.
dumb interaction where Violet goes down there and she's like, I could give you the powdered orange peel or I could give you magic. And he's like, well, I mean, obviously magic. And then she gives it to him. And then she's like, I'm going to ask him questions that I already know the answer to because then I'll know if he's lying. And then she only asks him questions she already knows the answers to. And then she leaves. And that's it. She doesn't ask him anything that she doesn't already know.
He fell right into my trap. Like that was her attitude when she left. She was like,
She's like, yeah, I got that guy so good.
Got him.
How about the chocolate cake thing where Garrick is like chowing down on the chocolate cake?
He's like, this
where
is just like home.
they poison her, but no. She poisoned them first.
What if they hadn't poisoned her?
I've already
What if they-
poisoned you.
What if they turned out to be nice people?
Like,
What if it was
actual
all
why?
fine?
no, I didn't poison dinner. I poisoned your tea that happened about 45 minutes ago.
How about when you think Riddick's gonna die, and you're like, how about Mira almost dying? Like, I'm tired. Please do not.
I
she-
wanted Mira to
when
die.
she slit Mira's throat, I said, I don't care. I don't care.
I said she ain't. In my mind,
she's
I
not
was like,
dead.
she's not dying.
I didn't even, my blood pressure did not raise one jot.
No.
It was like,
well,
no,
and it's
don't believe
also
you.
kind of hard to understand what's happening
After
so you can't feel
Riddick's
it.
stab in the coat, I'm not believing anything
I
that
know.
you
She's
say.
like, he's dying. And then he's like, you put a hole in my coat.
No,
was
but
like,
I
oh,
hate
okay.
sewing.
So that we can find the figs because figs are the antidote to this poison.
Figs or limes, but they just happen to have figs.
Figs to the back of the throat, and they're like baby birding it into his mouth. They're like, swallow. But
Like, can you
again,
imagine?
what if
So
they were
dramatic.
What if they were nice?
How
what
about
was she
he
gonna
has-
do? Is she gonna be like, you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm
This
not.
is
I did not.
awkward.
This
I
is.
accidentally.
I kind of maybe
Just
gave
take
you
this.
poison.
Just
so
take this, just in
before you
case.
start shitting blood and dying. Will you go ahead and drink this?
Can everyone have a sip of this vial, please, and don't ask me why I'm
Thank you.
giving it to you.
Thank you for this lovely dinner and your hospitality. Would you mind drinking this vial really fast?
It's part of my religious ceremony. Don't ask questions.
Don't ask why.
Or
please.
she'll like
Oh, you were
accidentally-
already going to give me 100,000 troops? Great. Can we go ahead and seal the deal over this tiny bottle that I happen to have in my pocket?
shot. Yeah.
Oh my God.
man.
It was so,
That was crazy.
Anyway. All that from Jack Barlow, who's like, again, the most useless character.
Again.
Why? Is she, you know he's going to be the big bad guy at the end.
I'm done.
Did we
If I
learn?
see him one more time,
We're done. I'm done.
I'm
but
done.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Did we learn about the different levels of venin in the previous book? Because when we show up in this one, we
yeah.
somehow already know that there's acolytes and mavens and sages and how they're connected and
And
how they can call
ASIMs.
each other.
ASIMs, which is like
Yeah.
the first level or second level. I don't know. I
I
can't
don't feel like that
I
was.
can't tell you because
You didn't do your.
I didn't do my
reread.
read. I did do a
No,
fucking
well, it's a
Didn't
reading
do your
comprehension
reread, and it
issue.
shows.
All
I
right.
should have had my study guide in front of me.
She
Like that's the thing though. Like you have to have the study guide. Nothing was to me.
Not reading a fucking study guide.
If I
me-
can follow Way of Kings to Words of Radiance to Oathbringer without a study guide, I should not have to for
I'm
these
not.
books.
No, man.
I think that doomed us.
Yeah, honestly,
Honest-
you've ruined me.
Yeah, well, when
No,
you eat
and-
filet mignon, it's hard to go back and eat a Big Mac.
Girl,
Yeah.
I eat McDonald's like 3 times a week. That $5 meal, that's what I have for dinner tonight.
Right, but
here's
if
the
someone
thing.
handed you one and said, this is filet mignon, you'd be really upset.
No, I don't like that analogy,
You
but
don't?
I respect it and I
Okay.
understand what you're saying. I don't feel like it's McDonald's.
Mm.
I feel like it's like a quick trip burrito.
Wow, you went lower.
The burrito.
No,
Oof.
no. I feel like it is has
Well, it does
all,
keep you up all night.
I feel like it has everything it needs to have. The editing is just so shitty, and she has so forced into making this world work. And she's so new to this kind of writing,
Yeah.
you know? Like, it feels unfair. I feel like,
She's not giving the tools that she needs to be given to be
and what
successful at
sucks
this.
is it's making so much money.
making
and
so
that
much
feels
money.
so American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You rise to your highest level of incompetence.
Yeah, and I hate that for her because I think that with some time and some, you know, like just with some proper time and direction. Are you about to ghost?
No, what's your next thing?
Oh, the next one that she said she was going to do was how turning Venin affects Zayden's connection to Sigale.
We don't talk about that
should,
at
No,
all.
we
should
don't.
we call
Sigale's
Caitlin and see
mad.
if she knows?
Please
Sigale's
don't.
mad at
I want
him.
you
Let
to
me text
still
her
be
really
friends
fast.
with
Let
her.
me text
Yes.
Caitlin and ask her if she knows.
Well, while you're doing that, the other thing we're supposed to learn is further details of Zayden's intrinsic abilities.
So, of what?
None.
Of
His intrinsic. All he
We-
does
we
is a
got
couple
no.
times he reads Violet's mind, and she's like, "Are you reading my mind?" And he's like, "I don't know." Was
well,
I?"
and they're still accidentally reading their minds in ways they shouldn't.
I
What?
feel like at this point, Violet's mind is just a single crayon with like Zayden written on the inside of her head.
Well, and we know that Andarna's magic is affecting Violet in ways that we also learned that Violet's God touch. We do find out why her hair's gray.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the thing I'm supposed to ask? What?
How turning Venin affects Zayden's connection to Sigale. Yeah, if you have to invoke God more than once in a book in order to get your plot back on track, you probably have an issue with your plot. Because she
How
uses
his turning
Deus
Venin
Ex
affects-
Machina twice.
Affects his relationship with
Sigale.
Sigale.
Because on the War Island, did they have to draw straws to see which island got which god? What if two islands wanted the same god? How are they going
I
to handle that?
cannot deal with the religion.
How are they going to handle that? I want to be Dune. No, I want to be Dune.
No,
We can't both
and-
be Dune.
And you think that Violet is going to be connected to Dune because of her.
Well, when she's on the War Island and
But-
there's
but
there's like
but-
lightning,
but her
that's supposed
powers-
to be God.
But aren't her? Oh, Dune is the goddess of war.
Yeah.
So I guess it is.
So it's supposed to be God interfering to make Violet win.
Well, the thing is, there's six high-powered Pokemon. There are
Yes.
six. What are they called? What are the Pokemon called? The legendaries.
Yeah, they're legendary
And there's
Pokemon.
6 of them, and because there's 6 gods.
Yeah.
And Violet has one, and Sloane has one, and Zayden has one, and they all have powers that are God blessed,
Okay.
God touched.
Okay.
So you should know that.
Do I?
You should know it.
Okay.
If you had done your reread,
I could not possibly read Iron Flame again. I can tell you that right now.
well, I can't wait for story time when the next book comes out and I just get to have someone tell me about it.
Yeah.
So I can not.
Just tell me what happens.
I would read a synopsis just to be like, okay.
I would watch a lovely YouTube video
Of
what
someone
happens.
explaining it.
Yeah. But if the thing about it that
No longer than 10 minutes.
if the thing about it that I dislike the most is the physical act of reading it, it's not for me.
Yeah. I would just say these are not for us. I think that's a pretty good.
Well, and it just makes me feel like a failure because
I don't think that's fair to you.
our podcast is about spicy books, spicy fantasy books.
Right, but I want
and
there
this
to be
is the greatest spicy fantasy book in pop culture right now.
It is the most popular.
Correct.
It is the most
Well, if
popular.
you-
Not the
if you-
greatest.
If
At one
you
point-
weren't so smart,
At one
then Hannah and I would still be having a great time.
We
well,
would
you
Rachel,
know, love this.
You know all smart people are mean, so
Yeah,
just
you're
had
such
to-
an asshole.
I had
I
to
have,
ruin
I
it
have
for you.
become, yeah.
I am
That's actually, I am quite, sometimes I can be so mean to boys.
You are so mean to boys.
I am.
Well, you should stop being little boys then.
When men send me things at work and they don't know how to do their job, I don't have any room for
Well, they
it.
wouldn't have room for you if you didn't know how to do
Because
yours.
No.
it sucks that men have to have secretaries because they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
That is the reason why men got paid more money so that they could hire administrators to do the actual physical
So they
labor
could hire a
because they're
woman to fix
incapable
it.
of doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that pattern is correct every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not their secretary. And I think that's why I get so mad.
I know. I feel you.
Yeah.
But like you have such a good relationship with your boss, but you also kind of are that role for him.
Yeah. I have a good relationship with my boss because he knows
How much you do.
that I'm that role for him.
Yeah.
And he acknowledges almost on
And
a
sup-
daily
and supports
basis
you, yeah.
how much he needs me.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I get
That's
really
the only way it works.
like and the thing is, Hannah, I wasn't mean. I'm just so direct and like you're wrong. And our people pleasing, that feels mean.
I know. Like the slightest little thing can feel mean to me.
I know. I felt it the other day too. This guy sent me this thing and it was really like wrong. Like this is wrong. And so my text
We can't accept this.
My text back wasn't, thank you so much. We're so excited to work with you. It was, hey, so we have to, this, such and such says that this needs to look like this. So please make this correction, and here is our terms. I just don't have it in me to placate and like,
You don't have to. A man would not do that for you.
but I wouldn't do that to a woman.
You are
You're not
so you're
communicating.
so gentle with women.
Think of it
Very
as code switching.
I am, it's code bitching.
Yeah, but think
Code
of it as code
bitching.
I'm
bitching.
code bitching because I wouldn't
Do
do
it.
that. I wouldn't do that to our clients. I would never treat our clients like that. It's just when I see the inadequacies of these other people who are out there making just as much money as we are.
Especially when they ask to make much more money than we are.
And then I'm like, are you? And I end up I don't want to be like, it's fine. I'll take care of it.
it for you.
I want to be like, why are you so mediocre?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to? Why am I putting myself to this standard and you're so mediocre?
Yeah.
But I really need to work on that
I'm
because
not mad at
I
that.
don't
I
think you
would
need to work on
never
it.
treat. I would never
I
treat.
don't think you need to work on it.
Mm-mm.
I think
Okay.
you need to start treating women meaner.
No,
That's how you need to work on that.
I will not.
Do we find out why Violet is God touched? Why her dad tried to devote her to the
So the thought behind it is, she was sick, so she's always been kind of sickly. She's always been weaker. So what we think happened? How about the fucking grandma?
random grandma?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I got a grandma
yeah.
who I didn't
sorry.
tell you
Don't
about
talk
until
about
this very
grandma.
moment.
She will be a very pivotal character in book 5.
I very much
I'm
doubt it.
sure.
She's gonna fucking forget she existed.
She will forget about
yeah,
the grandma.
it's gonna
you
be another
guys-
Ianthe.
This is a 5-book series. I don't know why you want
it would need to be a
answers.
57 book series at this rate.
I am 2 books into a 3-book trilogy, and we know very little about what's actually happening. It's been built up for 2 books. And I don't care because it's well written and it's compelling and the characters are interesting and the plot that I was given was compelling. I'm waiting for the payoff in the 3rd book because the first 2 books were so good. I know it's going to fucking stick the landing.
Yeah.
If you tell me, oh, you only read 3 books of a 5-book series, but the first 3 books are shitty, what is making me want to read the next 2
Yeah.
books?
Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe we got you to the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series, to be honest with
remember
you.
I read
Assassin's Blade?
The whole series.
Yeah, but Kingdom of Ash was so good.
I liked after the 3rd book.
Yeah.
It got better. Then I didn't like one of them in the middle, but the rest of them were pretty good. The one where we go back to town and she
Queen of
becomes
Shadows.
Selena again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that. But
really
Yeah,
like
you don't
that
like
one.
Selena.
I really like it.
Well, and I can see,
that's
I
okay.
can see its weaknesses.
and that's a me taste thing. They're not poorly written. That's
well,
me.
some of them. No. Come on. Some
The
of
first 3 are somewhat poorly written.
Yeah,
If you
they
See
really-
her growth as an author.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Like some
But
of them.
she grew. I don't
She
feel like
grew.
Rebecca is growing. I feel like she's somehow getting
but
worse.
she doesn't have time.
She
Do
doesn't
you
have
think
time
that
and she doesn't
some
have
authors
to. She's
are
not
just
being pushed to.
have just one good book in them?
She's a one-shot
no,
writer.
no.
A Margaret
Okay.
Mitchell.
She's a one-shot writer.
So I'm gonna push back on that a little bit
Okay.
because her other books, her contemporary romances.
But are they series?
I don't know. But they
Okay.
do really well.
I think because
Well,
Fourth Wing was
clearly
good.
that doesn't matter.
Because Fourth Wing was. I flew through Fourth Wing. I
think-
enjoyed Fourth Wing. I think she's a one-shot writer.
Through Fourth
And
Wing.
did
I think
on
she took-
Dragons.
I think she hit the market in a very pivotal moment with TikTok and book talk
And ACOTAR.
And ACOTAR.
Yeah.
People were coming off ACOTAR or all of those wonderful fantasy series.
Yep.
And it did what it needed to do. She brought that contemporary romance skill set she had, and she put it in a world that was very tame, like street level,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And could manage it. And then was like, oh fuck, I'm a fantasy writer now. And then that became I you know who I feel bad for? Those 2 girls that make that podcast that's really doing really well. Really, really well. And I was like, in my mind, I keep thinking, what if they don't like it and they can't?
They can't say they don't.
Well, and then they just interviewed her, like on stage. Like they are in her pocket now.
Yeah.
And so they're also the ones that I learned from that the leak. I learned from them, and then they deleted it because they respect the author more than they can criticize the work.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they do either. But I just thought in my mind, I was like, what if they didn't like it and they can't?
That would be a fresh hell.
Yeah, like if I had to go through this book chapter
By chapter.
and only
Can you imagine, Rachel?
I
She
like
would
the
quit.
space. I
quit.
I like the space we exist in.
That's on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
Oh my
this.
God.
I remember that one time. God, you do it one time. I like the space we exist in, which is we can be honest about how we feel about the book. And I feel like that is something that I personally appreciate and I as a reader would look for. I don't want the talking heads. I get tired of being online and seeing these books recommended and then I buy them and they're all the same book or they're all terrible.
Yeah.
And it's because they're locked into this particular type of book and they have to market the same kind of book over and over and over again. Because if they recommend a book and the people that follow them don't like it, they're going to lose followers. So
yeah, I
they're
don't really care about
trapped.
that. Yeah.
They're trapped. And so I know we actually have almost 4,000 lifetime downloads, which is pretty good
I
for
don't
a
know
podcast.
I don't know what that means.
It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
good for a podcast. That means that as soon as I
Sounds like
post
a lot.
as soon as I post an episode, we get
Is it? I don't know what a lot is. I don't know.
it's fine. We
It's
were
fine. I don't really.
4,000.
I should send you guys our Spotify wrap up because they send me like a Spotify wrap up.
Yeah.
And so we have subscribers. We have, I don't want sponsors. I don't want to be stuck in a
I
space
want commercials because I want furniture for free. I want
getting paid
I want
would
a
be
free
fine.
couch from Article or Joybird.
I'd settle for
Joybird.
Joybird.
Remember when we kept mentioning Joybird?
I just want some free furniture, and I also want some Diet Coke.
No.
Oh,
No more Diet Coke.
no more Diet Coke. Don't drink my juice. Don't take my juices from me. That's all I've got.
Well, but I can see the point of
Or
making
some
money.
betterhealth.com.
Yeah, but
Free therapy.
anyway, I like what we have.
Sure.
I like
I do
this.
too.
I
don't
like what we have.
I mean, you have to redefine your metric of success. We have had this podcast consistently for almost 2 years.
Yeah,
It's
and
crazy.
also
That-
we have like 50 50 episodes. We have so many episodes.
By any metric of
And we
podcast success,
and-
that's successful. Most people quit
and we
after the
tend to
first 10
cover
episodes.
books early.
Yeah.
Like we covered a lot of stuff way early.
Do you know what our most downloaded episode of all
Murderbot though,
time
right?
is?
Isn't it Murderbot?
No, our most downloaded episode of all time is Friends with Monsters.
Oh. Yeah.
That is fun. I loved those books.
I'm surprised it's not Morning Glory Milky Farm. I
It's
love
not.
that. That was a treat.
We need to read the next two Kimberly Lemming books because she
Yes.
has That Time I Got Drunk and
And
Saved a
that's-
Human, and
that-
it was so
it's
cute.
so good.
Oh,
But that's
so
Did
good.
you know that's the end?
Of the Mead mishaps. But she also has
I
That
wanna-
Time I Got Kidnapped by an Alien and Got Stuck in a Rom-Com.
But I don't.
Oh.
I'm sad because I want them to go on the adventure that they talk about in the third book. I just read the third book. That's actually what I read after that.
Yeah, I read it after I needed a palate cleanser. I was like, Kimberly, save me. And I went back and read
Yeah, it's
the third book, and it was so cute.
It is really cute.
It's really good.
I love her.
It was good. And then there's another lady who has That Time I Accidentally Summoned a Demon Boyfriend, and That Time I Accidentally Hooked Up with a Vampire. I thought those would be fun too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to give ourselves a little bit, get back to our roots. Get back to
Yeah.
our roots, and then we can sprinkle back in some more. I think it's fun to have the dialogue about these books that feel universally loved and to discuss whether or not why.
There are a lot of people that don't like these, and all of the criticisms of them, whether it's 1 star, 2 stars, or 3 stars, are right on par with what we all felt and what we all see in it.
Right.
And it's it's the argument of like, it's a very different life experience to go from Wind and Truth than from 15 Dramini fanfics on AO3 that have never been edited.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
a very different
Oh, yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's nobody's better than others. And
No, but I think it's important to have authentic dialogue about them.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm coming
Yeah.
off of like a life-changing event in Oathbringer.
Yes.
So
yeah, almost getting saved at
yeah,
the end of
I
Oathbringer.
almost got saved.
Yeah. It's so good. The end of Oathbringer is so good.
yeah, so we're doing Edge Dancer next.
Yep.
Yeah, and Dawn Shard.
with
And
Matt.
Dawn Shard.
If you can get to Dawn Shard. It's a short book.
And then we're going to do Rhythm of War.
Yep.
And then on to Wind of Truth.
Wind and Truth.
Wind and Truth.
Unless we want to do another short book in the middle.
Probably. You're going to be gone. We need
By
to
the
talk
time
about,
we get to
we
Wind
need to
and
talk
Truth.
about that off charts.
Off chart.
Off the
Or my
chart.
chart on my chest.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay.
All
well,
right, friends.
Well,
I think, yeah.
thank you for hanging out.
Thanks for listening to us.
And
Hopefully you either agree, don't agree, or don't hate us.
Yeah.
you know what? But if you do, that's okay. You also just petty rage block us on everything. That's what I do. I just like, if you say something I don't like, I don't need you in my sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
don't.
criticizing the people. I just, I hate,
You are allowed to like this book.
I hate
Absolutely.
seeing this book be held up as like
The
paragon
Good
of
book.
fantasy.
right.
And because it's fine, but I always think it's best to see things for exactly as they are. Even the properties that I love, like some of the 90s TV shows that we cover, is me criticizing the episode by episode. But that's how I love it,
Right.
because I've engaged with it enough that
Yeah.
I can.
Well, and I
pick
can
it apart.
see the critique and criticism in some of the books that I love the most. Like, I can understand why people didn't like House of Flame and Shadow. I understand.
Right, but you can understand it and love it.
Yes.
Like it doesn't. You get to love it anyway, even if I didn't love it.
Yeah, and so you can understand that this book is fucking terrible and also still like it
Yeah,
in comparison to other stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair. Yeah.
All right, well, till next time.
Until next time,
Okay,
friends.
bye.
Bye.
Is it hot in here or is it just me tuning in to hear these three chatting about fantasy novels of the spicy variety? Not your average book club if you know